everybody. This is Rhonda Cobb, the Money Coach, and welcome to our show. Today, if you have ever wondered how to go from a tiny little idea to a great big business, this is the show for you. Joining us is the woman that the New York Times calls the Pumpkin Queen of America. Yes, pumpkins. She sells more pumpkins than any other producer in the United States. And she does all this with her family business called Frey Farms. And meanwhile, in her spare time, she wrote this fabulous book that I was privileged to read called The Growing Season. And we want to welcome very, very much to our show, Miss Sarah Frey, author of The Growing Season and the CEO of Frey Farms. How are you today, Sarah?
I'm doing great, Rhonda. We're in the middle of our pumpkin harvest here in Southern Illinois, and it's a crazy busy time of the year, but it's also my favorite time of the year. So
it is
everything's going really well.
Definitely pumpkin time. Yes. Every day when I take my dog to the park, I go down this one road, and on both sides of the street, there are pumpkins growing. And as of yesterday, they're all gone. They harvested all the pumpkins, including this one little lonely, ugly one that refused to turn orange. It stayed green. It was really big, but it was green.
Oh, I actually really like the pumpkins when they have a little bit of green cast on them before they turn completely orange. I think those are the coolest, especially around Halloween.
This one was like Monster Mash green. There was no orange on it at all. I was so tempted. I'm like, okay, that's stealing. If I stop the car and take the green pumpkin, that's stealing. But boy, was it tempting.
That's awesome.
I know it's terrible, isn't it? It's horrible. But I left it. So hopefully I'll be able to go to the market and I will see the green pumpkin. I'll just go ask them. It's right down the street. Anyway, you got to tell us. You got to tell us with all that you have going on and as busy as you are, what made you decide to write this book? Because I loved the book. It was fabulous.
I wrote the book because I really I felt like I needed to share more of my story, especially with other young people. And when I was writing, I had this vision in my head of a girl growing up in rural poverty or in a city somewhere who really felt like maybe there wasn't a lot of hope for her future. And that's the thing that really kind of inspired me to write The Growing Season. I grew up on a small family farm, very isolated in Southern Illinois. And I felt compelled to share more of my story with others because, you read the book, Rhonda. It wasn't an easy task, growing up how and where I did. And then, ultimately starting this business in this very rural, isolated part of America and, trying to dig my destiny out of my dirt at such an early age. I was a teenager when I started my business.
I know you were 15. I mean, that's just amazing.
What was your favorite part of the book?
I think my favorite part was the whole thing of you are so pragmatic and it comes through and you just never give up. And when an issue arises, you don't wallow in it. You don't whine about it. You just go and deal with it and get on with it. And that is a tremendous lesson for anybody, anywhere that is struggling with anything, whether it's business or school or life or their family, is yes, stuff is going to happen, but then get up and deal with it and then get back on your bike and go. you know,
Yeah.
or jump in your truck and go. I loved
Jump in
that.
your truck.
Yep. I loved that theme. And, it's awesome because I think that you were right. There are so many young people that feel trapped by their circumstances. And as soon as they remove that feeling of trapped, then they can begin to do what it is they're going to do with their life, whatever that is, be it pumpkins or something else. So
Yeah.
I that kind of leads us to the next question. What what are we hoping that the readers will gain from reading the book? Because it's a very readable book. It's awesome.
Well, I think, you know, I was I was early on. The book was supposed to be released in June, and we had to make a call like, okay, are we gonna publish this book, or are things in our country going to be calmed down with COVID by that time? And so many people said to me, "This is, oh my gosh, this is the worst time to release a book." And I said, and it just dawned on me one day. I said, no, it might be a bad time to release a book, but it's the best time. It's the most perfect time to release the growing season, because everyone can relate to the stories in the growing season. We have all felt feelings of fear and isolation, since our country went into this, crazy tailspin with COVID. And the stories in the book are so relatable. And so much of it is about, finding courage, which I believe courage lives within all of us. I don't think that courage is unique to me, or that I have more of it than really anybody else. I think courage lives within everyone. It's just a matter of how do you find it. And throughout the book, there are these moments that I, show the readers, whether it's, having to face this nasty snapping turtle when I was a little girl and throw it in the back of the truck, or, the setups that my brothers, did for me when I was little, like catching the big catfish and reeling it in and thinking I'm the greatest fisherman in the world. And, when all along they stood on the bank of the pond watching me fight and struggle and pull this fish in, full well knowing that they had put it on my line for me and set it up and handed me a pole that had a massive catfish on it, just to, really to help build my courage and to build my confidence in myself. And so there are a lot of moments that I felt like it was really important to share from my childhood. So much of the book is, really based on the early years of my life, because I think it's important to sort of set the stage for then, how I became who I was, how I had the courage to move out when I was 15, and, the courage to get in a truck and, drive hundreds of miles away and sell produce out of the back of it. I looked like a traveling carnival act, but I also didn't care, because I knew I was very focused on the mission. And, the mission was bettering my life and ultimately building a life for myself.
Well, and I think that you definitely made that mission. Now, one thing that wasn't in the book, and I gotta ask, in those early first years, when you're out there with your truck and you're truly not even old enough to drive legally, but you're driving your truck anyway, and you're taking melons and pumpkins to the stores. When you walked into a store, this petite, blonde, young, young woman, and asked for the produce manager and showed them what you had to sell. What did the look on their face look like?
Well, I actually had a lot of practice doing that, building up. So when I was a little girl, I would go with my mother had about 12 grocery stores that she would along her summer delivery route. And because I lived on, this, farm in the middle of nowhere, and I loved going with my mom in the summers. And when she would, get the melons from the farms in southern Indiana and go out on her route, if she tried to leave me, I was running down the road chasing the car or the truck, like, no, wait, I need to go with you. I need to help you. So she actually sent me into my first grocery store when I was all of about 7 or 8 years old. And, there just wasn't a question when she said, go in the store and find the produce manager and ask him how many, cantaloupes he wants to buy today. I didn't even question her. I didn't say, oh, well, Mom, I can't do that. I'm scared. No, Mom said it. So you did it, And so I had a lot of practice. So by the time I was 15, 16 years old, I had already been, used to communicating with adults and making deals and talking to them. I mean, it was this tiny little human when I when I was little, and I remember the first produce manager that I walked up to, and I remember exactly where I was, what store I was in, and I remember having to ask for the first time and to speak to a stranger, an adult, and literally, make a sale. So for me, I had a lot of practice leading up to that moment. But I think, as I continued to meet new people and expand that route, I took it from 12 stores. My mom went to work for a radio station, and this kind of craziness was unfolding back at the farm. And I took over the melon route, and I expanded it to about 150 stores. I think that people were shocked at first when they met me. And, I don't quite know what people, what they thought, but it didn't matter to me. I didn't care what they thought. I mean, I was there to sell my fruit, and, I was just very matter of fact about it. Like, this is what I have, and it's really great fresh produce, and how much of it would you like to buy? And I think because, people really appreciated the fact that I was working hard. I think that, I think a lot of the help that I got along the way was because people saw how dedicated, and how committed I was to doing this job. It doesn't matter what job you do, as long as you do it well and you enjoy doing it. And I loved being outside. I actually loved my delivery route. I mean, was it a dirty job? Yes. Was it, did I get hot and sweaty and tired and all of those things? Of course I did. But I also loved it, and I think that passion came through, and the dedication that I had came through. And I don't think it really matters whether you're sweeping the floors, taking out the trash, delivering melons, driving a truck, whatever it is you're doing, as long as you're doing it with with enthusiasm, and you're doing it well, as if you really care. I think people want to see you succeed. So I had a lot of people along the way that cheered me on and wanted to work with me because they saw the work that I was putting in.
I think so, and they saw that you did have that passion and enthusiasm, and that comes through in the book too. When people see that, it's hard to ignore it because it's not commonplace. People that work with a passion are really fun to observe, and you just have to enjoy being around